All right, good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Kufiyud
Good
Aleph.
morning, Rabbi.
Today is Daf Kufiyud Aleph in Maseches Pesachim. Looks like we got another week or so, a little more. I think yeah. All right, a little over a week till we finish up Pesachim. It's Hashem. So Kufiyud Aleph. So now we're going to get into continue some of the Gemaras we discussed earlier about Zugos. Zugos has to do with Shadim causing harm, and now the Gemara is going to continue discussing this concept. So let's see the Gemara. We are on the top 4 lines on top of Kufiyud Aleph, Amad Aleph. I said that before to some before those who came out a little late. Right, I don't have a lot of explanations for today's Gemara. I don't know why, but I will read and translate that which says in the Gemara. So let's see the Gemara. Amar Reish Lakish says Reish Lakish Arba Dvarim Ha'isa Oisa Damu B'Roishim is Chai B'Nafsho. 4 things a person can do basically to cause harm to himself, right? Which will bring some sort of harm, perhaps by shadim, to himself, and therefore he's basically putting his own life at risk. Elohein, these are it, and the Gemara is going to go into each one. Hanifne ben dekel l'kaisa. One goes to the bathroom, right, between a palm tree and a wall. The column or one walks between 2 palm trees. One who drinks water that is borrowed, right? Someone borrows water and you drink from that water. One who also passes al maim shvuchim, even if his wife goes ahead and spills out the water in front of him, that water has some sort of shadim, demon, something from that water which could cause him harm. So let's see. Hanifna being dekel l'kaisel, that which we said, one goes to the bathroom between the dekel and the kaisel. Number 2, and omron ela deles le arba amos. Only if there's not between the wall and the tree dalat amos. But if there is 4 amos between the wall and the tree, it's not so close, and therefore there is not a reason. He's not really putting himself at risk. Also, lo omron ela deleka dircha krina. Right, also, if there is no other path and it's less than dalamos, but if there is another path, then he is not causing putting himself in potential danger. Next case, the column one who goes ahead and passes 2 palm trees. This is only when basically the Shisarabim, the path to go through, the public way is to go through between the 2 trees. But if there's a public way to go between the 2 trees, then there is not a concern. One who drinks maim shulim. It's only if a katan borrows the water, that's when the water is risky. That's the type of water that the shadim are attracted to, right? But if it is somebody who's a gadol, I guess who is over the age of bar mitzvah, or he's a gadol, less than there is not what to be concerned with. One is not putting himself in danger. And only if the katan he borrows and he's in the field, because water then over there is not commonly found, and therefore the shadim are attracted to it. But in the city, then since the water is common, therefore this borrowed water is not really dangerous to him. Even what she said in the field, right? Only talking about water. But if for whatever reason this katan is borrowing, right, in the field, he's borrowing beer or wine, then there is nothing to concern about. It is only with the water that maim shulin borrowed water that is a concern, which is in the field. Fine. And that what you said, one passes over water that has spilled. Right? Only we're talking about if basically there was not dirt placed upon the water, or no one spit into it. But if there is spit in it, or there is dirt on it, then there is no concern. Also, if the sun was not, shining on it, or there were not 60 steps taken over this water, then it's concerned about. But if there were 60 steps over it, or the sun was shining on it, there is not to be concerned of shadim. We also only talking about if he wasn't only concerned, only if he was not riding a donkey, or if he wasn't wearing shoes, he was barefoot. About if he was wearing shoes and or he was riding on a donkey, then passing on this water is not something to be concerned. And this is only talking about a town where there is not common kshefim, right? Sorceresses, right? But there is a kishuf, right, in the area. Even if you have any of these, there still is to be concerned about. Even if you have, right, he was wearing shoes or whatever it was, or people stepped over it, or there was earth on it, or the sun shone on it. Nevertheless, since there's kishuf, which is common in that area, therefore you should still be concerned. And kahu gabra, like that person, the rachiv chamra v'saymasani, someone was once riding a donkey and he was wearing shoes. The gamasani v'tzavi kavi, and that basically his shoes shrank and his feet also got smaller, shriveled up, and therefore there was some sort of kishuf that was done to him. Fine, Tana Rabbanan. All right. Now we can still continue with it. Shleisha ein matzanin v'loi meets matzin. Right. There are three things that one should not go in between, and one should not allow to go between him and somebody else. Ve'eluhein. So he shouldn't go between them, or they shouldn't go between Ve'eluhein hakelev v'hadekel v'haisha. Dogs, right, or palm trees, or a woman. Some say also a pig, right? Should not allow go between them, or should not go between pigs, or some say also snakes. However, let's say he does go between them, right? What should you do? So Amar Papa, he says, Niftach bekel v'nafsik bekel. You should say the pasuk, right? The pasuk which is brought down. The Rashbam brings down the pasuk. Actually, the Art Scroll in footnote 15 brings down the entire pasuk or psukim from B'midbar. So the pasuk says, it says El Mosim Mitzrayim Kesov Reim Lo. It starts with the word Kel, right? And Kilo Nachash B'Yakov Le'Kesam Yisrael Keis Yemar Le'Yakov Le'Yisrael Ma'Pel Kel. So the pasuk over there. So whatever reason, this is saying this pasuk will protect one if he walks between any of these cases. And some say, Inam yor niftach below v'nafsik below, or use the pasuk of lo, right? Use the pasuk of lo, which is actually the couple pasukim earlier in the same parak. It says lo ish kel v'yechazev uben adam v'yis nachem hahu omar v'loyasev adavar v'loyikimenu. Right. So it starts with lo and it ends with loyikimenu, and therefore it starts with lo, ends with lo, and that is what you should say to fight off whatever spirits there are from this. And the hani petre the if you have two people and a woman who is a nida walks in between, so if she is the beginning of her nida period, then one of them will die, right? And if it's the end of her nida, then basically there will be a machlokes between him and the other person. And my takanase. So what should you do if the nida does walk through? Niftach, once again, use the same pasuk bekel v'nafsik bekel, right? Use the pasuk we mentioned before from Bamidbar. Fine. And hani cheinashin diasim parshas derachim. If you have two women that are sitting at the edge of the road, and chada b'hagisa the shvila v'chada b'idach gisa, and basically the machani apayla hadadi. They're basically one is on each side of the road, and they are facing one another. Vadai kishufim askinan. For sure, they're doing some sort of sorcery, so you got to be careful. So my takanase. So what should you do? So if first of all, if there's another way to go the other way. Don't walk. So if there is no other path, then right? If you're walking with somebody else, hold his hand and walk through, and that will basically hopefully protect you from any sort of kishuf. However, there's no one with you. Name a say this: Ageres, Azlas, Asiya, Blusia. Right. So these are different names of Shadim, Miskaltla, Bechek Kavla. Right, have already been killed with a crossbow. So that's what you say when you go between these two potential sorcerers, or the Gemara says they're for sure sorcerers. And Haiman depaga beitsa beidna desalkim atfilas mitzvah. If a person chances upon a woman, right, who at the time when she's coming up from the tfilas mitzvah, when she's going to the mikvah, right? So ihu kadim mashamesh. If he bumped into her, whatever it was, right? So if he goes ahead and he happens to be mishamish before her, he has relations before her, right? Not with her, but with his wife. So right? He will have some sort of a spirit of ruach zununim, some sort of a spirit of znus that will take hold of him. And he ruach zunim. And if she happens to have relations first, then she will have this spirit of znus and come inside her. And my tekan, I'll say, so what should you do to fix the situation? Leim haki, say this: shveich buz al nadivim. All right, pour this anger on nadivim, those who are nadiv, those who people are noble. The yasem besohu loiderach, right? And he made them wander in a place without a without a road. Right. So that's what the pasuk you say. Why is that pasuk work? I don't know. It just says it in the Gemara. Fine. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak says Rabbi Yitzchak, "My dechsi was a pasuk mean gam kielech begates hamavis loira kiata imadi." Right. So walk through the valley. Right. The valley of death, right? I'm not going to be scared because you're with me. So Zeha Yoshen Betzel Dekel Yechidi Betzel Levana, right? That's a person who basically sleeps in a single or under a shade, right, of a single palm tree or the shade of the moon. All right, I guess the moon is shining, and if it's behind, causes shadows. Then if you're sleeping in this shadow, then one is putting himself in danger. And the Gemara says, speaking of the tree, this shade of the decal is only if no other palm trees also shine its shadow upon it. But if there is not, then if there's multiple palm trees, then there is no concern of basically these demons, these shadim in the shade with you. It says over there, one sleeps in the shadow of a single palm tree in a chatzir. Or one goes and sleeps in the moon dam barosho. He's basically putting himself at risk because he's sleeping he's taking a nap or lying down in the shadows where these shadim are found. So hey, what's the case? If we're saying that there's no other, it's a single shadow of a palm tree and no other shade from another palm tree is there. Then we said even a field is also right. Even a field is also dangerous, right? So elalav. Rather, what are you going to say? Shema no, you must learn from here. B'chaser afal gav denafil tula dechavre elua. Rather, you say that by a chatzir, that even if there's another shadow with it, it's always dangerous to him. Shema mina. So indeed, learn from there that even if you're in a chatzir, then even if it's multiple palm trees, but the shadows right there, the multiple palm trees, then it's still dangerous. That would say the shadow of the moon is only talking about when it's in the shadow is in the west, i.e. the moon is in the east. But if the shadow is in the east and the moon is in the west, then there is not a chashash, right? This is that happens at the beginning of the month, as the Rashbam says. Fine. Turn the page. Sahaiman, the Mafni, and Agirda, the Dikla. Person who goes ahead and he goes to the bathroom on a tree stump that one was chopped down. Then he will have this ruach palga, certain spirit that comes upon him, also causes damage to him. Ruach palga, marshim belaz, right? Footnotes say some say it causes some sort of paralysis. And the Haiman, the Masi Reisha Agida, the person who puts his head on this tree stump, Achdile Ruach Tzrada, also will basically cause this demon, this shade, to cause some sort of harm to him, I guess through headaches. And Haiman, the Pasi Adikla, person who goes ahead and he steps over a palm tree that would eat the miktil, if it was chopped down, cut till he will be killed, right? And Miyakir, if it was uprooted, then Miyakir of mice, then he'll be uprooted and he will die. Also, if he goes to this, if he walks over this tree. However, this is the only time if he doesn't step on it. But if he does go ahead and step on it, then there is no issue. Chamishe tule havi, right? There are 5 types of shadows, right, where these different shadim are going. 5 types of trees that these spirits are under. Tule, the dikla, yechida, a single decal tree, single palm tree. Tula de kadna, right, is a lote tree. And Tula de teinasa, a fig tree. Tula de pircha, right, there's a caper bush. And Tula de zardasa is a sorb tree, right, like a type of apple tree. And Ikdami, some say, Av Tula de arba, Tula de arbasa, or some say also the shadow of a boat, or the shadow of a willow, those spirits, they're shadim that basically hide in this shade and therefore don't hang out in this shade. And Claude the Mills, the rule is called an avishanivshe kashi tule. We call the kashi silui kashi tule, right? Any tree, right, whose branches are a lot, therefore its shade is heavy, and therefore that causes damage, right? And also whose wood, I guess, is a lot of branches or thorns, then the shadows of it is very damaging. Labar mekara masha, except for this type of service tree was also so much like this type of apple tree. Afagat the kashi, the suluse like kashi tule. Even though it has a lot of wood, nevertheless it's not harmful. Damile shaded the bra. So one time a shade told its son, right? Pircha the nashech mikar the masha dihu kata lavucha v'kata ledide, right? Because he basically told him, get out of this shadow of this tree, because just like it killed your father, who was also a shade, right, who was a demon, right, or some sort of spirit, so too will kill you. So we see that these type of trees, this type of service tree, all right, some sort of fruit tree. I googled it. I don't know, in South America. I don't know. So so that type of shadow causes damage to spirits, and therefore spirits don't hang out in those shadows. So if you want to find a nice shadow tree, find yourself a service tree. However, I saw that the Rav Kana, he was careful not to go in the shadows of all trees. Now, Bei Pirche Ruchi, right? The Bei Pirche, the caver bush, it's shade, its spirit is called Ruchi. The Bei Zardosa, the sorb tree is called Sheda, that's called Sheda. The Bei Igra, and the on top, the rishbeit, right, the ones on roofs, right? Also, I guess there's shadim on roofs. Also, those are called rishbeit, l'maynaf kamina. So who cares what they're called? L'kameya. If one goes ahead and it has some sort of amulet written for protection, so therefore it is not kamina as to the names. And the parchi bria shein leinaim. Also, the caperberry spirit, that does not have any eyes, can't see. So l'maynaf kamina. So what's the difference whether it can see or not? So the gazuze, right, to go ahead and to run away from it. Why? One time there was a certain Talmud Chacham wanted to go ahead and go to the bathroom by a caper bush, and Shama to Kaasa Ilua Vegazile. He heard that one was coming, and he ran, and Kiyaza Chabke Ladikle and Savach Dikle Pakahi. And then I guess when I was chasing him, this demon like basically ran into a tree because he couldn't see. Hugged the tree, and then basically the tree shriveled up, and this shade died. The Bei Zardosa Shade, and also we said earlier that this the one of the Zardosa of the sorb tree that was called a Sheda, and Ha Zardosa the Smicha Lamasa, right? We're only talking Loi Pachsim Eshisin Shide, right? If you have this tree which is close to a city, it has not less than 60 shadim in the tree. L'maynaf kamina was not like kamina to write a kamea, as we'll soon see by the story. How Bar Kasha Demasa, I guess there was a person who was I guess watching the city. So he went to next to one of these sorb trees by the city, and Olu by Shitin Shede Vistakin, right? So he had, I guess, 60 different shadim, I guess, enter his body, and he was in grave danger. And also, he and also a certain Talmid Chacham came along, and he didn't know that in the sorb tree that there were 60 shadim. So kasala kameya lechada sheda. So he only wrote the kameya for one, right? He wrote one kameya to basically get this guy better, and he only wrote basically for one shade and not 60. So shama de talochina begava. So then he heard that there was some sort of music, right? That they were hanging some sort of musical instrument. They shade them, right? He heard, right? They were doing it. And they're saying this. They're saying Sudra Damar Kitzimar Abaran, Badika Beimar Deloy Yada Baruch, right? Yes, we can see that this guy is dressed like a Talmid Chacham. He's wearing this sudar, right? This turban, this type of hat. He's wearing a Hamburg, right? Something that the Rosh Yeshivas wear. However, he's making a command for one person. It appears like he doesn't even know how to make a regular bracha of Oterisah Sifara, right? As Rashbam brings down, he doesn't even know how to make a bracha. So obviously, he might look learned, but he's not learned. However, another Talmid Chacham came along, and he knew that sorb trees have at least, when the ones that are close to the city, have at least 60 shadim. So Kasala Kamea the Shitzin Shidi, therefore he wrote the Kamea for 60 shadim. And Shama Dekal Amru Basically, they said, okay, remove all your instruments from here because this guy is going to get rid of us. Fine. Pasuk says in Hazinu, Ketev Meriri. Ketev Meriri. I don't think, is Alan on here or no? Alan, oh, there he is. Yeah. So Alan is teaching my oldest son, my youngest son, right? So Ketev Meriri. I don't know the trup on those two words, but what does it mean? So Trey Kitve Havu. There are two types of demons. One is before noon, and the other one is afternoon. The one before in the morning is called Ketev Meriri. And it looks like it's in a jar of kimcha, which is a type of dip they used to have, right, with flour and sour, whatever type of it was, I think spoiled milk or whatever, right? So and with breadcrumbs, right? So it was a jar of kimcha. The hader be bachasha with a mixing spoon. I guess that was what it looked like. It looked like it was going around this type of shade. And the basutara, and the one in the afternoon was called basutara. And Ketef Yashud Sarayim Shema, the one that was in the afternoon was called Ketef Yashud Sarayim, was his name. Umichsi Bey Karna Deis. They looked like the horns of a goat. V'hader Bey Kanafai. There was a whirling sieve. So that was the appearance of these different types of shadim. And Abaye Havi Shakal. Also, one time Abaye was walking, but also Rav Papa Miyamine. Rav Papa was on his right, and Rav Huna Brei Davishua Mismole was on his left. And Chazilo Ketev Meriri to Kaasila Ape the smaller. And he saw, I guess, this Ketev Meriri, the one in the morning, was coming towards him to his left, right? So what did he do? Aduri Rav Papa Lismali. So he basically took Rav Papa, put him on his left side, because that's where the shade was coming, and he basically protected Rav Huna Brei Davishua and moved him to the right. So I'm later Papa. Oh no, my Shnad. Why you not worried about me? Why are you putting me in danger? So I'm right? You basically you have good mazel, and therefore you won't. This shade won't have any any power over you. Right, from the Rosh Chodesh, from the first day of Tammuz, right, in the summer until the 16th, right before Shivasar B'Tammuz, right. These ketev are certainly shechiach, are common to be found. But however, after that, it's a suffix whether they're found or not. Right, and they are found by this chatsuva that has not grown to an amma. Right, I guess these type of grass. Excuse me, type of grass that grows, but it didn't grow that much. Right? Basically, and also the shadows of the morning and the evening are also not too long, so therefore it has to be much shorter because the shadows usually cast a little longer, and they're usually found by the Beis HaKisei. And Amar Rav Yosef, Hani Talas Mile Yahiv Arbona Lenura. There are three things that can cause one blindness. Means Sarek Reisha Yavish, to go ahead and comb his hair when it's dry. I mean the Shasi Tif, and one who drinks the last droplets from a barrel of wine. One who goes ahead and puts on shoes when his feet are wet. And Talev a basic kashi lanu. Say a person goes ahead and hangs bread in his house, that causes one to become poor. And Kadaminchi tala silsa tala mizone. Right, person who goes ahead and hangs his basket of bread, right, hangs his paycheck, right, his sustenance. We're only talking about bread, about bisa, the kadri, blah blah blah. But when talking about hanging meat or fish or your Romanian salami, right, there is no concern there. Why? Orchi, because that is the normal way to basically have your fish or your meat. And pari the besa kashi lanuse, right? Bringing brand to the house is also could bring one to anius, brings one to poverty. The shur vese kashi lanuse, also breadcrumbs, also having in the house is also kashi lanuse, can cause one for poverty. And bleli shabasu leil revius sharu mazikin aleh, right? And the leil Shabbos Friday night and levius the Tuesday night, right? There are mazikin around, and isurei the muzad nakid shemei. And the name of this shade is called nakid, right? His name is Nakid, and Isara Danisa Navel Shemei, and the spirits of what's called Aniyasa of poverty is his name is Navel. And Sa Pume de Chasa Kashi Lenuse. Also putting a plate on top of a barrel also brings one to Anius, to poverty. And Madashasi Maya Betsai Kashi Lebrukti, right? Person goes ahead and drinks water from a plate. He can cause some sort of disease to his eye. And Da'achil Tichlev Leimashiyade, a person goes ahead and eats cress and he does not wash his hands afterwards. Mifached plus in Yomi. He'll be anxious. He'll have anxiety for 30 days. A couple more items. The Mesuchad al Mashiyade, person goes ahead and he bloodlets. He's dumb and he doesn't wash his hands. Mifached Shiva Yeme. He'll be anxious for 7 days. The Shakal Meziav Mashiyade, person goes ahead and gets a haircut and he doesn't wash his hands afterwards. He'll be scared. He'll be anxious for 3 days. The shakel tufrev mashiyade, person goes ahead and cuts his nails. Right? He'll be anxious for a day. He won't know where their anxiety is coming from. And yada usa darga lapachta, person goes ahead and puts his hand on his upper lip. Then that is basically will cause one to become anxious. And yada puse. Darga l'shinosa. One who basically puts his hand on his forehead, basically will bring himself to sleepiness. All right, we'll stop here. Once again, I don't know if this continues or not. Just looking, it looks like more agatas or something because the blot are long. Mr. Shem, we will, don't forget, so Sunday morning, 7 o'clock.
Don't forget we move the clock stuff.
They're going to move the clock, right? So 7 o'clock, so it's going to be like 6 o'clock. So maybe change your clocks like what's the Shabbos at like 8 o'clock. So it's really 9 o'clock. So you go to sleep all the time. All right. So anyways, so Sunday morning, Mr. Shem, 7 o'clock. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos. And do not forget to change your clocks. Although you don't have to.
Good Shabbos.